Hello, and welcome to Sarah's Baked Goods. Today we're going to be making maple butter tarts with cider syrup. This is the syrup that my family makes. It's really delicious, way better than any of the store-bought stuff. I can attest to that. So, let's get started. To start off, we're going to make our dough. So, some pastry flour or all-purpose flour. It's going to be about 1.25 cups. Pinch of salt, just a little bit. Give that a little mix. Make sure that salt's spread out. Then we're going to add in our chunks of butter. You can replace butter with shortening or lard, but butter has the best flavor, so maybe do a mixture if you don't want to just go plain all butter. Then you're just going to use your fingertips and rub it in. After we get to this stage where it's a bit mealy, we're going to add in our water and sour cream. Make sure it's very cold. You want super cold. So, mix your cold water with your sour cream. Minimum you'll need is 2 tablespoons of cold water. You might need a bit more, but that'll depend on how dry your flour is. So, just mix that sour cream up a bit, and then pour it in. Now all you're gonna have to do is form a dough and add any water you need as you go. So we're just gonna slowly mix it until it forms a dough. Be careful not to work it too hard. Just go slow. Don't be squishing it too much or kneading it. You just want to stick it together until it forms a dough. So I didn't need any extra water for this batch, but just in case, keep a little bit of extra water off to the side, just in case you need it. So with this formed, take this off. Make sure everything's off your hands. Then we're just going to wrap it, put it in the fridge for half an hour minimum. This works better cold, so you can go for longer. We're gonna make it super thin as well to start helping with the rolling out part and to make sure it cools down quicker. Half an hour is the minimum. I would recommend an hour, but if you aren't going to be making it anytime soon, you can just leave this in the fridge 3 days in advance, whatever you want, as long as it's been in there for at least half an hour. So, we'll put this away. I waited the time for the dough, but before we start going on our dough, we're going to start doing our filling. So, first, you're going to want to put your brown sugar in here. It's 3/4 cup. The recipe will be in the description below. I use weight normally, so if you don't have a scale, you can look up what it would be in volume. But for the brown sugar, we need to mix in some soft butter. Once you get the brown sugar and butter to this stage, it's very simple. You just start adding in every other ingredient. So 1/2 cup of syrup. Pinch of salt, a tablespoon of vanilla, again I go by weight, so if you have a scale it'd be a lot easier. Once these are all mixed together, add in your eggs and your tiny bit of flour, and then you're good to go. Just start rolling out your dough. Add your eggs. And finally, a tiny bit of flour. Just like that. Once this is mixed in, you're all done to go for the filling. If you are gluten free, you don't need to add the flour. It's only for a bit of stability. It will work without it. It just won't work as nicely. And there we go. So we'll put this off to the side and start rolling out our dough. So let's get some flour down first. A little flour on top. We'll just start rolling it out. As you go, you're going to see it start cracking. As they crack, push it back together and it will stop it. And as you continue, it won't get worse and worse. Okay, so once you have it rolled out, grab your cutter. Your cutter will depend on how big your muffin pan is. I have a fairly big one. I'm only going to do a few. I'm not doing the whole thing, probably only like 8 or so. But yeah, that will depend on your muffin tray. Cut as close as you possibly can so that you don't have as much waste. You can roll this out only one more time from the very first time you rolled it out. Any past the first time and the dough gets too tough and won't bake properly. So keep that in mind. After you roll this out the second time, the rest of that dough that isn't cut will have to be thrown out. Or just baked for fun. There's no harm in still eating it, it's just it's not going to be as nice as your first 2 cuts. So that's all I can get from the first run. We'll stack them on the side here and roll out again. Remember, you don't want to be pressing this together too much. So just bring the pieces in nicely. Don't just squish them together. This is where you start pushing. Now you can start re-rolling. This is a perfect time to turn on your oven to get it preheated. Cut out your last few pieces. And sadly, this will have to be thrown out because we worked it too much. So depending on how good you rolled it, you will get anywhere between 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, anywhere between 13 and 16. Next, we're going to have to put it into our muffin tin. I ended up having 14, so it's very simple. Just put them in. The thing is, these don't need to be all the way to the top. It's how much you fill them. So, not any muffin tin will work, whether it's big or small. Now, if you have a smaller one, it'd be better so that it's easier to put them in without ruining them. but it'll work out fine. If you are like me and have a big tray like this that fits perfectly in your oven, make sure that you put your tarts near the middle so that it bakes evenly throughout the whole thing. If you put them all on this side, if your oven's hotter on this side, it won't bake the same. Make sure that it's all in the corners. And then you're going to fill this 3/4 of the way up. This is the point where you will add in your raisins, your pecans, almonds, whatever nut or raisin you want. You can put it on the bottom. I'm going to just go with plain today, just to make it easy. But if you want to put your pecans or raisins, that's up to you. Make sure that you stir this up. It could separate on you if you wait too long with it. And then we're going to fill this 3/4 of the way full. So about that full. Keep in mind, if you are going to put your raisins and stuff in, you're going to need less batter or filling. So maybe reduce the recipe by a bit depending on what you want to do. So let's put this in the oven. So this is how they're going to look. This one went a bit over, but that's okay. It will bubble up, but just remember, as long as it doesn't bubble over the sides, you're going to be good. Let it cool down in the pan for about 20 minutes before removing them. Remember, if you have it any more thick for the dough, as I do, you're gonna have to bake it longer, which means you could burn the filling. So we'll come back in 20 minutes, take them out, and put them off to the side. So this is how they turned out. You can see that when they bubble up in the oven, they do shrink back down. And the ones that it bubbled over didn't make them look too much worse. They gives them a bit of character. So I'm still going to continue to just keep them as they are. I might make the dough a bit taller and make it so that this recipe fits 12 instead of 14. But we'll see on the next attempt. If you've liked this video, please like and subscribe. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. I even have my own website. Thank you, and have a nice day.